Hey guys, so yesterday when we were reading the Weston game, I left you guys off on kind of a big cliffhanger. Erica Crow decided to announce herself as the answer to Sam Westing's riddle, even though everybody else was kind of deciding should they protect her, should they give her up. And Sandy, the doorman, died. So that was a super intense couple of chapters. Nothing is resolved yet. We have no idea what's true, what's not true, what's real, what's fake. It's getting crazy, and we are nearly done. So we're gonna pick back up at chapter 25, Westing's Wake. Sandy was dead. Crow had been arrested. The 14 remaining heirs of Samuel W. Westing sat in Judge Ford's living room, wondering what had happened. At least the guilt is not on our hands, Mr. Who said, trying to convince himself that a clear conscience was worth $200 million. Crow's going to jail, Otis Amber wailed, and all you do is pat yourself on the back for not being a stoolie. Let me remind you that Crow confessed, Seidel Pulaski reminded him. Crow only confessed to being the answer, nothing more, Angela said, pressing her hand against the tearing pain in her cheek. Even if Sam Westing wasn't murdered, like the judge said, Doug Who argued, there was nothing wrong with Sandy until he drank from the flask Crow filled. If Crow is innocent, Theo said, that means the murderer is still here in this room. Flora Baumbach tightened her grip on Turtle, who was nestled in her arms. Poor Crow, Otis Amber muttered. Poor Crow. Poor Sandy, you should say, Turtle responded angrily. Sandy's the one who's dead. Sandy was my friend. You should have remembered that before you kicked him, Denton Deere remarked. I never kicked Sandy. Never. The intern turned sideways in his chair in case of attack, but the kicker stayed slumped in sadness. Well, someone kicked him today. That was one mean bruise he had on his shin. That's a lie. That's a disgusting lie, Turtle shouted. The only person I kicked today was Barney Northrup, and he deserved it. I didn't even see Sandy until tonight at the Westing house. Right, Baba? That's right, Flora Baumbach said, handing Turtle a Westing facial tissue. But Turtle was not about to cry again in front of everybody like a baby. If only she could forget how he looked, suffering, dying, the twisted body, the chipped tooth, that horrible twitch, that one eye, that was the worst, that one eye blinking. Sandy used to wink at her like that when he was alive. When he was alive, Turtle blew her nose loudly to keep from sobbing. Sandy was my friend too, Theo said. I was playing chess with him in the game room, but he didn't know I knew. Why is everybody lying? Turtle slumped further into Flora Baumbach's arm. Sandy was her friend, not Theo's, but Sandy didn't know how to play chess. The judge, too, was surprised. How can you be certain it was Mr. McSuthers you were playing with, Theo? That's what partners are for. Doug watched the chess table to see who was moving the white pieces, Theo replied. Again, the track star thrust his I'm number one fingers high in the air. Dumb jock, thought Mr. Who. Doesn't he realize this is a wake? But he is the champ. My son's the champ. Doug win, said Madam Who. They did not suspect her anymore. Good, very good. But it was so sad about the door guard. Theo went on in a mournful voice. I'm sort of glad Sandy didn't go back to the chessboard after my last move. He never knew he lost the game. Did you checkmate him? The judge asked. Could she have been right about McSuthers after all? No, a disguise was one thing, but Sam Westing lose a game of chess? Never. Well, not exactly checkmate, Theo replied, but Sandy would have had to resign. I took his queen. The queen's sacrifice, the famous Westing trap. Judge Ford was certain now, but there were still too many unanswered questions. I'm afraid greed got the best of you, Theo. By taking White's queen, you were tricked into opening your defense. I know, I've lost a few games that way myself. Theo recalled the position of the chessman, thankful that his skin was too dark to reveal his blushing. Turtle almost smiled. That Theo thinks he's so smart. Well, Sandy showed him. Sandy beat him at chess. But Sandy didn't play chess. She never kicked him either. Bucktooth Barney Northrup was the one she kicked, not Sandy. But Sandy had the sore shin. Bucktooth, chipped tooth, the crooked false teeth in the dentist's office, Sandy's dentist. Cheer up, my friend, the game's not over. You can still win, I hope you do. Those were the last words Sandy said to her. He winked when he said that. Winked. One eye winked. Dead Sandy had winked at her. Sandy had winked. Oh my, Flora Baumbach exclaimed as Turtle suddenly bolted from her arms. Angela, can I see the copy of your will? Angela handed it over. She could not refuse her sister anything now. Turtle leaned against the dark window, poring over Seidel Pulaski's transcript of the will. First, I returned to live among my friends and my enemies. I came home to seek my heir, aware that in doing so, I faced death. And so I did. To seek my heir, Turtle repeated to herself. Today I have gathered together my nearest and dearest, my 16 nieces and nephews. Sit down, Grace Windsor Wexler, to view the body of your Uncle Sam for the last time. Tomorrow its ashes will be scattered to the four winds. Winds? Windclopple, Turtle said aloud. Her mother had been right all along about being related to Sam Westing. Windclopple, Grace mumbled. Jake patted her head. Windclopple, the judge repeated. At least she could explain that. Crow married a man named Windclopple, who then changed his name to Westing. Bertha Erica Crow was the former wife of Samuel W. Westing. They had one child, a daughter, who drowned the night before her wedding. It was rumored that she killed herself rather than marry the man her mother had chosen for her. If Sam Westing blamed his wife for their daughter's death, then the sole purpose of this game was to punish Crow. Crow was Sam Westing's ex-wife? The heirs found that hard to believe. Then why would Mr. Westing give her a chance to inherit the estate? Theo asked. Maybe he wanted his enemies to forgive him, Chris said. Ha! Said Mr. Who, one of the enemies. Turtle read on. Second, I, Samuel W. Westing, hereby swear that I did not die of natural causes. My life was taken from me by one of you. The police are helpless. The culprit is far too cunning to be apprehended for this dastardly deed. What does dastardly mean? Oh my, Flora Bonbach was relieved to hear Grace Wexler define the word as cowardly. I alone know the name. Now it is up to you. Cast out the sinner, let the guilty rise and confess. Third, who among you is worthy to be the Westing heir? Help me. My soul shall roam restlessly until that one is found. For the first time since Sandy died, Turtle smiled. Judge Ford sat in glassy-eyed thought, elbows propped on the desktop, her chin resting on her folded hands. Why, indeed, was Crow an heir? Sam Westing could have pointed his clues at the Sunset Tower's cleaning woman without naming her an heir. Crow's not going to inherit anything, not if she's in jail for murder, Otis Amber complained bitterly. All your talk about chess and sacrificing queens, Crow's the one who's been sacrificed. What did you say? The judge asked. I said Crow's the one who's been sacrificed. Uttering a low groan, Judge Ford sank her head in her hands. The queen's sacrifice. She had fallen for it again. Westing had sacrificed his queen, Crow, distracting the players from the real game. Sam Westing was dead, but somehow or other he would make the last move. She knew it. She felt it deep in her bones. Sam Westing had won the game. Stupid, stupid, stupid. The heirs stared in amazement. First, they are told that Samuel W. Westing was married to their cleaning woman. Now, a judge is calling herself stupid. It couldn't be true. Sam Westing wasn't stupid, Denton Deere declared. He was insane. The last part of the will was sheer lunacy. Happy 4th of July, it said. This is November. It's November 15th, Otis Amber cried. It's poor Crow's birthday. Turtle looked up from the will. Crow's birthday? Sandy had bought a striped candle for his wife's birthday. A 3-hour candle. The game is still on. Sam Westing came back to seek his heir. You can still win. I hope you do, he'd said. How? How? It is not what you have, it's what you don't have that counts. Whatever it was she didn't have, she'd have to find it soon, without letting the others know what she was looking for. Judge Ford, I'd like to call my first witness. Chapter 26, Turtle's Trial. Who was furious? Haven't we had enough game playing, he complained, and led by a confessed bomber, no less. Judge Ford rapped for silence with the walnut gavel presented to her by associates on her appointment to a higher court. Higher court? This was the lowest court she had ever presided at. A 13-year-old lawyer, a court stenographer who records in Polish, and the judge in African robes. Oh well, she had played Sam Westing's game. Now she would play Turtle's game. The similarity was astounding. Turtle not only looked like her Uncle Sam, she acted like him. Ladies and gentlemen, Turtle began, I stand before this court to prove that Samuel W. Westing is dead, and that Sandy McSuthers is dead, but Crow didn't do it. Pacing the floor, hands behind her back, she confronted each of the heirs in turn with a hard stare. The heirs stared back, not knowing if they were the jury or the accused. Grace Wexler blinked up at her daughter. Who's that? The district attorney, Jake replied. Go back to sleep. Now frowning, now smiling a secret smile, Turtle acted the part of every brilliant lawyer she had seen on television who was about to win an impossible case. The only flaw in her imitation was an occasional rapid twist of her head. She liked the grown-up feeling of shorter hair swishing around her face. Let me begin at the beginning, she began. On September 1st, we moved into Sunset Towers. 2 months later, on Halloween, smoke was seen rising from the chimney of the deserted Westing house. Her first witness would be the person most likely to have watched the house that day. I call Chris Theodoricus to the stand. Chris lay a calm hand on the Bible and swore to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. What fun! You are a bird watcher, Mr. Theodoricus, are you not? Yes. Were you bird watching on October 31st? Yes. Did you see anyone enter the Westing house? I saw somebody who limped. Good. Now she was getting somewhere. Who was that limping person? It was Dr. Sykes. Thank you. You are excused. Turtle turned to her audience. Dr. Sykes was Sam Westing's friend, a witness to the will, and his accomplice in this game. On the day in question, he limped into the Westing house to build a fire in the fireplace. Why? Her next witness might answer that. Judge Ford instructed the witness to remove his aviator's helmet. His gray hair was tousled but barbered, and place your gun in the custody of the court. Oh my, Flora Bombach gasped as Otis Amber unzipped his plastic jacket, pulled a revolver from his shoulder holster, and handed it to the judge, who locked the gun in her desk drawer. Turtle was as startled as the other tenants. Mr. Amber, she began bravely, it seems that we are not all who we say we are. In other words, who exactly are you? I'm a licensed private investigator. Then why were you disguised as an idiot delivery boy? It was my disguise. Turtle was dealing with a practiced witness. Mr. Amber, who employed you? That's privileged information. The judge interceded. It would be best to cooperate, Mr. Amber, for Crow's sake. I had 3 clients, Samuel W. Westing, Barney Northrup, and Judge J.J. Ford. Turtle stumbled over her next question. What were you hired to do, and when, and what did you find out? Tell us everything you know. It was unsettling to see Otis Amber act like a normal human being. 20 years ago, after his wife left him, Samuel W. Westing hired me to find Crow, keep her out of trouble, and make sure she never used the Westing name. I assumed this disguise for that purpose. I mailed in my reports and received a monthly check from the Westingtown Bank until last week, when I was notified that my services were no longer needed. But Crow still needs me, and I'll stick by her no matter what. I've grown fond of the woman. We've been together such a long time. How and why did Barney Northrup hire you? Amber is second in the phone book under private investigators. Maybe Joe Aaron's phone was busy that day. Anyhow, Barney Northrup wanted me to investigate 6 people. What 6? Judge J.J. Ford, George Theodoricus, James Hu, Gracie Winclopple, Flora Bombach, and Sybil Pulowski. I made a mistake on the last one. I wasn't aware of the mix-up until I looked into Crow's early life for the judge. It seems I confused a Sybil Pulowski with a Seidel Pulowski. Would you please repeat that? The court stenographer asked. Seidel Pulowski, Otis Amber repeated, then turned to the judge. I couldn't tell you about Crow's relationship to Sam Westing. Conflict of interest, you understand. Judge Ford understood very well. Sam Westing had predicted every move she would make. That's why Otis Amber, with his privileged information, was one of the heirs. That, and to convince Crow, the queen, to play the game. Turtle had more questions. Are you saying that Barney Northrup didn't ask you to investigate Denton Deer, or Crow, or Sandy? That's right. Denton Deer turned up in my report on Gracie Winclopple, the Wexlers. Barney Northrup said he was looking to hire a cleaning woman for Sunset Towers, good pay, and a small apartment, so I recommended Crow. I don't know how Sandy got the doorman's job. Mr. Amber, you were also hired by Judge Ford, I assume to find out who everybody really was. Did you investigate all 16 heirs for the judge? I didn't investigate the judge or her partner. The judge bristled at the reminder of her stupidity. Therefore, Turtle continued, you have never investigated the man we knew as Sandy McSuthers for any of your clients. Never. One more question. It was the question she had planned to ask before learning that Otis Amber was not who he seemed to be. On the afternoon of Halloween, when we were watching the smoke in the Westing house chimney, you told a story about a corpse on an oriental rug. I saw it, Grace Wexler cried. I saw him. Turtle forgot the rules of the court and hurried to her mother. Who did you see, Mom? Who? Who? Terrified by the who's, Madame Who slipped away. The doorman, Grace replied, lifting her dazed face to her husband. He was dead, on an oriental rug, Jake. It was awful. Jake stroked his wife's hair. I know, Gracie, I know. Turtle returned to her witness. Mr. Amber, did you tell that spooky story to dare one of us to go to the Westing house that night? Not really. Sandy told me the story that morning, and we decided to scare you kids with it, being Halloween. Thank you, Mr. Amber. You may step down. Step down was the term used in court. The floor was level here. Turtle turned to her baffled audience. A fire was started in the fireplace to call attention to the deserted home. Then, a spooky story was told to dare someone to go into the house. That someone was me. I sneaked in the house, followed Dr. Sykes's whispers, and found the corpse of Samuel W. Westing in bed. I now call D. Denton Deer to the stand. Turtle stared at her most unfavorite air. Intern Deer, you saw the body of Samuel W. Westing in the coffin. Did he appear to have been poisoned? I could not say. He was embalmed. You are under oath, Intern Deer. Do you swear that the body of Samuel W. Westing was embalmed? What kind of a trick question was that? I cannot swear to it. No, I did not examine the body in the coffin. Could the body in the coffin, which you did not examine, have been no body at all? Could it have been a wax dummy dressed in the costume of Uncle Sam? I'm not an expert on wax dummies. Yes or no? Yes, it's possible. Anything is possible. What's the brat driving at? Or is she just trying to make a fool of me? Intern Deer, you may not be an expert in wax dummies, but you are an expert in medical diagnosis, and you did examine the body of Sandy McSuthers, correct? Yes to the first question and no to the second. I did not examine Sandy. I tried to make him comfortable until help arrived. He was still alive when Dr. Sykes took over. Turtle turned quickly to conceal her smile. But surely you saw enough symptoms to make one of your famous diagnoses. She peered at the judge from the corner of her eye. That last word didn't sound right. Coronary thrombosis, the intern diagnosed, but that's just an educated guess. In simple language, heart attack. Then Sandy could not have died of an overdose of lemon juice, which is what I saw Crow put in his flask. Turtle could have called on Angela to testify that, but she didn't want her screwy sister confessing all over the place. I never heard of anyone dying as a result of lemon juice consumption, the expert replied. One more question, Intern Deer. Do you swear that Sandy had a bruise on his shin resulting from a kick? Absolutely. I should know, having been the recipient of such a kick myself. You may step down. I call Seidel Pulowski to the stand. Seidel Pulowski! Overcome with excitement, the secretary had to be helped to her feet for the oath-taking. Miss Pulowski, I must compliment you on your good thinking in taking down the will in shorthand. Professional habit. This looks professional, all right. The typing is perfect. Well, almost perfect. It seems you left out the last word in section 3. The estate is at the crossroads. The heir who wins the windfall will be the one who finds the... Finds the what, Miss Pulowski? Finds the what? Seidel squirmed under Turtle's hard stare. Leave it to the brat to discover my one error. There was so much talking I couldn't hear the last word. Come now, Miss Pulowski, you claim to be a professional. Hounding the witness and doing it quite well, Judge Ford thought, coming to the secretary's defense. I don't think anyone heard the word, Turtle. Mr. McSuthers made a joke about ashes at that point. You are excused, Miss Pulowski, Turtle said offhandedly, her eyes on the will. The judge was right. Sandy had joked about ashes scattered to the winds. Winds, windy windclopple. No, it still didn't make sense. It's not what you have, it's what you don't have that counts. Maybe no word was ever there. She read on. 4th, hail to thee, O land of opportunity. You have made me, the son of poor immigrants, rich, powerful, and respected. So take stock in America, my heirs, and sing in praise of this generous land. You too may strike it rich who dares play the Westing game. 5th, sit down, Your Honor, and read the letter this brilliant young attorney will now hand over to you. Judge Ford, could you introduce as evidence the letter that brilliant young attorney handed over to you? It's just the usual certification of sanity signed by Dr. Sykes, the judge replied as she removed the envelope from her files. But the letter was gone. The envelope now contained a receipt. Check received November 1st, $5,000. Plus check received November 15th, $5,000. Total amount paid by Judge Ford, $10,000. Cost of educating Josie Joe Ford, $10,000. Amount owed to Sam Westing, $0. I'm afraid the original letter has been replaced by a personal message. It has no bearing on this case, and... Yes, please, a trembling Madame Hu stood before the judge. For to go to China, she said timidly, setting a scarf-tied bundle on the desk. Weeping softly, the thief shuffled back to her seat. The judge unknotted the scarf and let the flowered silk float down around the booty. Her father's railroad watch, a pearl necklace, cufflinks, a pin and earring set, a clock. Grace Wexler's silver cross never did turn up. My pearls, Flora Baumbach exclaimed with delight. Wherever did you find them, Madame Hu? I'm so grateful. Madame Hu did not understand why the round little lady was smiling at her. Cautiously, she peered through her fingers. Oh, the other people did not smile. They know she is bad, and Mr. Hu, his anger is drowned in shame. Perhaps stealing is not considered stealing in China, Seidel Pulowski said in a clumsy gesture of kindness. The judge rapped her gavel. Let us continue with the case on hand. Are you ready, counselor? Yes, Your Honor, in a minute. Turtle approached the frightened thief. Here, you can keep it. With shaking hands, Madame Who took the Mickey Mouse clock from Turtle and clutched the priceless treasure to her bosom. Thank you, good girl. Thank you, thank you. That's okay. The heirs were anxious for the trial to continue. They pitied the poor woman, but the scene was embarrassing. 1/2 hour to go. Turtle was so close to winning she could feel it, taste it, but still the answer eluded her. Ladies and gentlemen, who was Sam Westing? She began. He was poor Wendy Windclopple, the son of immigrants. He was rich Sam Westing, the head of a huge paper company. He was a happy man who played games. He was a sad man whose daughter killed herself. He was a lonely man who moved to a faraway island. He was a sick man who returned home to see his friends and relatives before he died. And he did die, but not when we thought he did. Sam Westing was still alive when the will was read. The judge rapped for order. Turtle continued. The obituary, probably phoned into the newspaper by Westing himself, mentioned 2 interesting facts. 1, Sam Westing was never seen after his car crashed. 2, Sam Westing acted in 4th of July pageants, fooling everybody with his clever disguises. Therefore, I submit that Sam Westing was not only alive, Sam Westing was disguised as one of his own heirs. No one would recognize him. With that face bashed in from the car crash, his disguise could be simple. A baggy uniform, a chipped front tooth, broken eyeglasses. Sandy? Does she mean Sandy? The judge had to pound her gavel several times. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Turtle went on, Sam Westing was none other than our dear friend Sandy, the doorman. But Sam Westing did not drink, you say. Neither did Sandy. I used his flask on Halloween, and there was a funny aftertaste in my pop, but not of whiskey. I know how whiskey tastes because I use it for toothaches. It was medicine. Sandy was a sick man, and the flask was part of his disguise, but it also contained the medicine that kept him alive. Turtle surveyed her stupefied audience. Good, they bought her little fib. As I said earlier, I saw a crow fill the flask with lemon juice in the kitchen, but I saw something even more interesting on my way back to the game room. I saw Sandy coming out of the library. Sam Westing, as Sandy, wrote the last part of the will after the answers were given, then locked it in the library desk with a duplicate key. But what about the murder, you ask, Turtle said, even though no one had asked. There was no murder. The word murder was first mentioned by Sandy to put us off the track. I did not die of natural causes, the will says. My life was taken from me by one of you. Sam Westing's life was taken from him when he became Sandy McSuthers, and Sandy died when his medicine ran out. Turtle paused in a pretense of letting the heirs mull over her last words, trying to figure out what to do next. Why did Turtle leave out Barney Northrup, the judge wondered. She knows Northrup and McSuthers were the same man because of the bruised shin. Either she doesn't want to confound the jury, or she has no more idea than I have why Sam Westing had to play 2 roles. Why did Sam Westing have to play 2 roles, Turtle wondered. He had a big enough part as the doorman without playing the real estate man as well. Why 2 roles? No, not 2. 3. Wendy Windclopple took 3 names. 1, Samuel W. Westing. 2, Barney Northrup. 3, Sandy McSuthers. The judge had a question. Surely McSuthers could have had his prescription refilled. Or are you implying he committed suicide? Pardon me? Turtle was searching the will. The estate is at the crossroads. The heir who wins the windfall will be the one who finds the 4th. That's it. That has to be it. The heir who wins the windfall will be the one who finds the 4th. Wendy Windclopple took 4 names, and she knew who the 4th one was. Keep calm, Turtle, Alice, Tabitha, Ruth, Wexler. Slowly, very slowly, turn toward the judge, act dumb, and ask her to repeat the question. I'm sorry, Your Honor, would you repeat the question? Turtle knows something. The judge had seen that expression before. Sam Westing used to look like that just before he won a game. I asked if you consider Sandy's death a suicide. No, ma'am, Turtle said sadly, very sadly. Sandy McSuthers, Sam Westing, suffered terribly from a fatal disease. He was a dying man who chose his time to die. Let me read from the will. 6th, before you proceed to the game room, there will be 1 minute of silent prayer for your good old Uncle Sam. Ladies and gentlemen, heirs, for we all inherited something, let us bow our heads in silent prayer for our benefactor, Sam Westing, alias Sandy the doorman. Crow! Otis Amber leaped to his feet as Ed Plum led the cleaning woman through the door. All right, so I know it's like we're still waiting on the real solution, right? I feel like we're almost there, right? Don't you think? Turtle's almost there. She's almost solved it. We only have a little bit left, but I'm going to save it for tomorrow because I want you to think. See if you can figure out the mystery, right? See if you can solve it for real. Okay, so join me tomorrow for the last little bit of the Weston game. All right, bye guys.